Yo, what's up, fellow Genshin F2Ps and Swipeys? Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dose of Genshin. This video, surprisingly, is coming out before the Dory episode because although, yes, Dory is the hot ticket character right now, I did want to upload this video before just because I found it a really cool not necessarily a thought experiment because a lot of people have been testing this already. However, this is going to shake up the meta and a very, is going to debunk a very common misconception amongst the Genshin general community, and that's with Bennett. Now, let's take a look at Bennett really quickly. Bennett, with his Constellation 6, he is able to infuse Pyro when you are within the Fantastic Voyage if you are a sword, claymore, or pole arm wielding character. Okay, this is pretty integral to now what is being dubbed as, you know, I don't think there's a full, unless there's a full name for it, actually. I actually don't think there's a full name for it. But what Bennett allows with his C6 now is very strong Burgeon comps. Now, what do I mean by Burgeon? And let's go through this. Hopefully there's a graphic up on the screen for you guys now. But essentially, what you guys will be wanting to do is when you inflict a bloom reaction, you are going to want to inflict Pyro on top of that on top of that Dendro core. And what will happen from there is such that you will be able to trigger a Burgeon, which is a Pyro AoE damage, which, you know, in itself is okay. It's pretty decent. It's pretty decent damage. However, a lot of the times, or pretty much most of the time, you should be able to keep your Pyro application on top of the character. What this allows you to do after that is either more or less basically just not reverse vaporize, just, excuse me, vaporize off of that. So the ideal rotation in terms of elemental application is you hit it with Dendro, you get your Hydro on-field character, whether that be, you know, let's say like Ayato or something. Tartaglia is an incredible candidate for these types of comps. But also some other different characters, not only just vaporize off of that. Overload is also coming into play with the with in particular rainbow comps. You can take a look at characters. Raiden Shogun's a great candidate for it. Let's see who else is really good in the Electro slot. I assume as well that Sino and even Razor, I believe, has been, you know, being tested out as one of these overload to overload Burgeon, which is kind of nutso. So on-field Electro DPS characters, maybe even, you know, you can consider Fischl. I'm not terribly sure. She's a bow character. She can't necessarily use the Bennett all that properly, but still, regardless, being able to overload and being able to vaporize off of your Burgeons is going to be incredibly powerful. These polymorphic reactions are, their multipliers are pretty nutso, and in particular with the characters that are involved, they just get stronger. The reactions get, they just stack up on each other a lot better than just simply, you know, applying, you know, your Pyro and then Electro and whatnot. It's just going to be, although yes, arguably more complex moving forward. However, it's going to open up a whole nother avenue for a lot of characters that we haven't necessarily seen. So, I don't know, like Magu Kenki is a good one, maybe. Magu Kenki kind of just doesn't stay still. What's one that stays still and doesn't have like application? Maybe like the nameless guy right here, wherever he is, right here. And obviously, I do not have my Bennett at C6, and because of that, there's going to be a huge loss in damage, and also a slight tweak to how the reactions are going to show up on my screen. However, the principles generally stay the same, such that let's bring out Dendro Traveler, and then, I don't know, like, if I had Kokomi, that'd be sick, but I don't. So, kind of hard to use Yelan because she applies to hydros, but I mean, still functions about the same. Let's bring in Barbara for ease of use, just to show you know, the chain of reaction that's going to go on here, right? So here we are going to apply Dendro, pop that. Bennett's ult is going to apply, Bennett's ultimate is going to apply the Burgeon, correct? Generally, that's what the rotation should be. And then from that, you should be able to either overload, vaporize from there. The polymorphic reactions are incredible, and they allow us to not only incorporate Dendro pretty smoothly, to be honest, because yes, in some sense that there are rotations that do not necessarily require Dendro. That's fair. However, because there are polymorphic reactions, we are able to incorporate multiple elements in a different rotation than we would generally, right? If we just wanted, you know, overload or whatever, we just go pot, 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 right? And then you would overvape, right? Oh, super easy, overvape, right? But this allows us to be sequential about things, which in some ways, of course, you do have to manage it. And yes, there are definitely instances, in particular with, you know, certain elemental gauges and whatnot, that you do have to take into consideration, especially because not every character applies the same amount of elemental gauge. If you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely look into some theory crafting on, you know, on these certain types of concepts, because a lot of these are definitely left under the rug and are only seen because theory crafters actually map these numbers out for us, right? Generally, I wouldn't understand if I were just, you know, to do an eye test, how much my elements were being able to apply. And again, Hydro, which is really cool, being able to apply from multiple elements. 1, 2, certain attacks that apply an element will be able to apply its, you know, its application, its elemental application, for more than one reaction. So it's not just the case where we hydro and pyro and vaporize done, the reaction's gone. There are some instances where the gauge will be higher such that you can still reapply another element. All that to circle around back to the linear progression that is polymorphic reactions, in the sense that you can go 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, right? You don't have to go 1 plus 1 and then or sidestep anywhere, right? You can go with what I just said, right? Dendro, hydro, pyro, electro, and then you're gonna get some sort of reaction. Of course, again, when you're in combat, when you're with multiple enemies, and those enemies have different elements, the story is going to be a little bit different. But that all just adds to the complexity that is now within the game, courtesy of Dendro and the reactions henceforth, right? Bennett being able to apply pyro when he's in the field is incredibly integral, as you were able to swirl. Ideally, you would even have, you know, a Nemo and Dendro on the team in some instances, although not always. But if you do, you're able to, again, use that Nemo, infuse, and then also in some instances reapply the pyro or swirl the pyro and then apply it on top of either your bloom reactions or whatever. There's a lot of different options that we now have open to us. And Bennett being able to apply pyro in the sense of, you know, under the timer of his ult, and being able to do it consistently, because now by using his ultimate, we're able to actually define when we want our pyro instance, right? As you can see down on my cursor bar here, I have pyro, right? So I can define when I want a pyro application, either onto myself or onto the opponents, and you can adjust your team compositions and rotations from there. This makes Bennett, granted, we thought Bennett was done, right? We thought Bennett, oh yeah, there are going to be a lot more niche comps that, you know, take away from Bennett's effectiveness. However, pyro still being a relevant elemental class, and now Bennett with his, you know, ultimate, we're now starting to learn that, oh wow, forms of consistency, right, in particular with Hydro, have already, you know, been top tier. Now we can control our pyro instances with Bennett's ult, which is incredibly potent. And just, I mean, granted, we've already known a lot of this about Bennett, but now playtesting through it, it's sort of now manifested itself to the level of, oh yeah, like now we can see its application. So, although I couldn't necessarily showcase a lot during this sort of pseudo podcast episode, however, hopefully I've left you guys with some, you know, little good trinkets of thought in order to reassess your views on Bennett, right? Because, and not to say that Bennett is any, or was getting any less useful. He is still that guy, right? But when Sumeru came out, the huge focus was on aggravate teams, single element squads, but now with Bennett, we're able to control polymorphic reactions. It's only in you know, amount of time before we start as a collective starting to catch up to understand, oh, these are how you properly rotate through polymorphic reaction compositions, such that we can get the certain timings of our progression correct. And then that'll net us big PP damage, or even bigger PP damage than if we were to just spam all the abilities at once. So with that being said, thanks, Bennett. I'm looking forward to testing you out way more now. I'm super excited. And yeah, make sure you guys like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed today's little podcast episode. We will be talking more about characters, elemental reactions, Genshin news, and stuff within this podcast. So make sure you guys tune in to the next episode. I know I said I was going to make this daily, but I had so many other videos that I was planning on working on that putting these together and, you know, getting the ideas around a lot of the episodes were kind of on the back burner. But again, more daily dose of Genshin podcast episodes to come. Thanks, Masanori, for being a little test dummy. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks so much for joining today. Oh, but wait. Make sure you guys also go to the description down below and click on my Discord community through there. If you guys are looking to bolster up your gameplay, you guys are looking to get your questions answered about Genshin and get better at the game, I will be starting to host one-on-one coaching sessions such that we're able to help you through all of your Genshin troubles and guide you through certain things such that we can come out better players. So yeah, we're going to do that all live on Twitch, but the form to apply for the coaching sessions will be in the community Discord. So with that being said, thanks so much, guys. And now is a goodbye.